ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you guys for joining. It is Monday, November 10th. So let's begin. Starting with the trades that we took or closed this week. So this is a trade that we took on Wednesday, it seems. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah. So we held this trade for basically 2 full days, 2.5 days. And then we ended up getting, seems like we got wicked out or just got taken out at the end of the day. So we held over the weekend. Price just took us out today. I'm not going to lie. I do think that price is going to continue to push downwards. I think that we actually got really, really unlucky there. So basically, the weekly time frame is bearish. So obviously, we opened last week, we entered the trade last week. Daily time frame is also currently bearish. We have the lower low, lower high, lower low. Price entered this area of interest, rejected it, sold. Now we are kind of creating this inverted head and shoulders. We have this inverted head and shoulders right here. There's a good chance that price actually breaks above and continues to go higher. But I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen. Obviously, if price manages to break and retest underneath this EMA, underneath the area of interest, this little head and shoulders, then I'll consider re-entering this trade. We were really close to surviving. If we did get wicked out, that would have been extremely, extremely unfortunate. That is the way things are on CAD CHF. Basically, still have two time frames that are bearish, and then the 4 hour time frame went bullish and is currently bullish at the moment. So that's that. Next is GBP CAD. GBP CAD is a trade that I took today. I sent a signal for it. Basically, the way things are on the weekly time frame, we are above the EMA. We reacted from the EMA, and we're currently bearish on the weekly time frame. The daily time frame is underneath the daily EMA, but we have shifted bullish on the daily time frame. We're trading inside of this channel. We reacted from the bottom of the channel, and every time we do a reaction, we usually end up shooting upwards, and that is the goal here. So the daily time frame shifted bullish. We had a pullback on Friday, and today I was hoping to see a reaction. 4 hour time frame shifted bullish as well. So we had a lower low, then a shift to structure. So we're bullish from right here up to here. Price was underneath the EMA. Then we shifted above the EMA, retested the EMA. And that is currently where we are right now. I basically entered after this bullish engulfing. I think it was actually a 15-minute bullish engulfing. Yeah, right here. And I set my stop loss underneath these lows. I didn't realize this, but a few people actually got taken out by this candle here. I sent a screenshot to the signal chat showing that my position is still intact. So I did send a message saying that I expected us to get taken out, and I just left my stop loss in place. We were, it seems right here, 10 points. So I think 1 pip away from getting taken out. I think that's the way it is, right? Yeah. So we were about 1 pip away from getting taken out. But on trading or no, on Trade Locker, it looked a lot closer. It looked like less than 10 points. It was more like 5 points. So either my spreads were really tight or theirs were a little bit larger. Now, chances of this trade hitting stop loss now are just as high as they were right here. We're still trading above or underneath this 30-minute EMA. So chances of price rejecting the 30-minute EMA and having a continuation to the downside are still quite high. we basically just have to break above the 30-minute EMA and start trading above it in order for price to play out in our direction. Otherwise, we're not in a great place. Am I worried? Am I worried about not being above any lower time frame EMAs for or under? Yeah, ideally, ideally it would have been. I actually noticed that as soon as I entered as well. But the thing is, this technically counts as a break above, and this technically counts as a retest of the EMA. So, in my eyes, this is above the 4 hour EMA, even though we shifted underneath. Until we actually break and retest underneath, to me, this is already above the EMA. I don't know if there's a good way to illustrate it. Kind of like this. You see, here we're underneath, and as soon as we kind of close above with a few candles, we retest the EMA and then have a continuation. It's not clean, but it is the way that things move on some of these pairs. So yeah, in my opinion, this did shift above the 4 hour EMA to retest it. But then once again, we did shift underneath most of these lower time frame. And the one in particular that I would like price to shift above is the 30-minute. So my entry was early, and because of that, some people got taken out. And I apologize for that. I gave them the option of closing the signal if that's something that they wanted to do, just to keep things fair. I think somebody else didn't get wicked out either. So it's kind of, I think 50-50 so far from what I've heard. But we'll see. Maybe in the next 4 hours, price ends up hitting our stop loss, and then that won't even be an issue to talk about. But yeah, those are the two trades so far that we have been inside of. One of them from last week. So this is what the calendar looks like so far for this month. We took a win last week, took a loss last week, and then we're currently in this trade. But yeah, even if this one hits stop loss, we're still up 1% on the month. And then we will still take one, maybe two more trades this week if things set up nicely. So yeah, overall, do expect a continuation to the upside, like I explained. The only time frame that is currently bearish is the weekly. We have the daily and the 4 hour still bullish. All right, moving on to some of these other pairs. Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as I explained, has reached the weekly EMA. We're now having a reaction from that weekly EMA. And just like I explained again, we're going to be retesting the EMA on the daily time frame, retesting all of these structures right here. So there's a good chance that we end up reacting to the downside and actually retesting the EMA one more time. As you can see, EMA does get tested multiple times on the weekly time frame before we have a continuation. Now, there are, like, look at this. Here we have one touch on the EMA, and then 2 weeks we bought. Here we touched the EMA, we bought for a week, and then we touched it again a few weeks later. So I do think that this week could continue to go higher, or maybe we close with a bullish candle. Next week we might have a bullish candle, and then I think we might actually retest the EMA one more time, but we'll see what happens there. 4 hour time frame has shifted above the 4 hour EMA. Now that we're retesting this area of interest, we could come back, retest this head and shoulders and this EMA for some more short-term buys. But I really don't think we're breaking above that daily EMA there. If we do break above it, we should see a break and retest for buys. And at that point, we will have, I think, more than two. Yeah, we'll have two timeframes in sync to buy, which would be the daily and the 4 hour time frame. So that's basically what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Let's see. Yeah, so we have a structure point here. 4 hour time frame is bullish, actually. So we had the lower low right here. We broke below it, making this the lower high, lower low, shift the structure, pull back, buy. So as of right now, 4-hour time frame is bullish, but the daily time frame is currently bearish. Okay. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at for Bitcoin. Basically, a deeper pullback, maybe a reaction from the area of interest into the 4-hour EMA. Next is the S&P. So I guess since the time changed in the United States, they shifted an hour back. Because if it was an hour ahead, then the time difference would actually be smaller. It is an hour back. Therefore, the market hasn't opened. It's not 9:30 a.m. there yet. So nothing to talk about here on S&P. I do still believe we'll get a reaction to the upside. Potentially a reaction to the downside if we react from the 4-hour EMA, but I don't think that that's going to happen. I think we're just going to have, like every single time we break below, we usually react upwards. The best way to determine if that's going to happen is you wait for price to actually break above and then wait for a retest to buy. That's the safest trade there. NASDAQ, I think, is setting up for a reaction to the downside, retesting the area of interest to then buy. US 30, literally the same exact spot, retest to buy. 4-hour time frame here is bullish. 4-hour time frame here is bullish. So you can already see how things are setting up for potential buys. And another thing I want you guys to consider, what did Donald Trump do over the weekend? He's basically teasing everyone with stimulus checks, right? So that would be nice. I think $2,000 is what he mentioned, between $1,000 and $2,000 for every person who's not in a high tax bracket. So who remembers what happened last time there were stimulus checks? Well, actually, let's just go ahead and show you guys. This was the last time stimulus checks were introduced to the economy in March of 2020, maybe April. So March, April, May, all of that stuff. There was 3 rounds of stimulus checks. What happened in the markets after there were stimulus checks? Yeah, the markets absolutely skyrocketed. And why is that? Well, what do poor people do with their money? Do they invest it? No, they spend it. And what happens when they spend it? Companies have really, really good earnings. Big companies have good earnings. They order stuff off Amazon. I don't know, maybe some people will be smart. Maybe they'll invest into tech stocks, but most people will spend their money, therefore increasing all of these rich people. That's why the rich people don't need stimulus checks. You think that they need $2,000? No, they're going to make 10x that amount, if not 100x, just by having their money inside of the markets. So 2 things might happen, right? One, we might take a dip and then the stimulus package hits and then we just take off. Or immediately from wherever we are, we'll just kind of continue taking off. I think that realistically, just by looking at the way that this market is, just by looking at where we are compared to COVID, that's that. And then this is this, right? Broke underneath the EMA, only to continue buying. Right now, I think we're like, this right here is like this right here. Like we're in the middle of this move upwards. Therefore, the only option is to small dip to continue buying. In fact, we haven't really had any small dips, like considerable dips on the weekly time frame. Usually there's like 2 weeks of selling, 1, 2, 3 weeks of selling, a few weeks of selling and then buying. That hasn't really happened. We've had maybe one right there. It's 2 weeks of selling and then continued buying. Everywhere else is just one red candle, and then the next candle is engulfing. It's blue. So what I'm trying to say is we probably aren't going to see too much selling in the markets. at least in the US markets, just because of those stimulus checks. Whenever they do land, that's going to be a very, very good indication for the market to be stimulated. I mean, they're called stimulus checks for a reason. They're supposed to stimulate the economy. And there would be no need for stimulus checks if the economy wasn't trash in the first place. I mean, nobody can realistically afford anything nowadays. All right, so now that that rant is over, yeah, we can just move on. We already talked about all three of these. On to gold. So gold has finally shown us what it wants to do. A lot of people were interested in selling gold. I said, no, sir. Gold is not sellable at the moment. In fact, I don't think it's going to sell anytime soon. I think it's just going to continue creating higher highs. And I recently saw a video talking about gold, and it's just it was a bunch of people who deal with jewelry, and they handle gold, quite a lot of it. And they talked about how there's a chance that gold will hit $6,000. Somebody said they wanted it to hit 20K, but obviously that's a little bit out of the world. But I mean, 6K doesn't seem that unlikely, especially with the way things have been going in our world. So yeah, gold, I do think we're just going to see continuation to the upside. We created a double bottom right here, 4-hour time frame. What happened? Very, very clean shift above the EMA. What did I say? As soon as the 2-hour shifts, 2-hour time frame shifted above the EMA, retested the EMA, shifted above the EMA, retested the EMA, and continued to buy. Now all we're waiting for is a pullback, potentially back into the 2-hour EMA, retesting the area of interest to continue to buy. That's all I expect to happen. Gold is bullish in my eyes. We currently have the weekly time frame is bullish, daily time frame currently bearish, but the 4-hour time frame is also bullish. So we have a new, actually we don't have a new higher high. We still have this higher high right here. So that is that. Very, very nice movement on gold. Dollar index still having that pullback into the area of interest, waiting for the continuation to buy. I would keep an eye on the 4-hour time frame, wait for a shift of structure, or wait for shift the structure would be nice. Maybe a double bottom, break, retest above the EMA, similar to the way it did right here. In fact, this almost looks like a very, very identical structure where we sold, pull back, sold underneath the EMA, pull back underneath the EMA, sold, break above, retest, buy. We take this and we drag it. What happens? Bam, same exact structure. Break underneath EMA, retest EMA, sold, break above, retest, buy. That's what I expect for the dollar. Now, one thing to consider is the weekly time frame last week reacted from this weekly EMA with a very, very strong selling candle. So you always have to stay on your toes and expect, what if I'm wrong, right? What if I'm wrong? What is the market going to do? Well, if I'm wrong, then the market's going to break underneath. It's actually going to create a lower low. Then it's going to come back and retest to sell. Okay. It's going to retest to sell underneath this EMA. It's going to catch up and then used as a resistance. So that is an option for sells. And if not, then you have your buys. All right, now we're going into our actual analysis. I think on CAD CHF, we were pretty clear about what we were looking for. We're just waiting for a shift to structure bearish again, retest to sell. GBP CAD here, just waiting for that continuation to happen. If you guys are considering entering, or if you guys are considering hopping in the trade, or if you got wicked out, if you're considering re-entering, not yet. Wait for price to confirm that it's going to buy, because there's a good chance that we just continue to sell from here. I would wait for a proper buy. If we close very distinctly above this area of interest, retest to buy, that would be fantastic to see. Something that I'm kind of gauging is this structure point right here. It brought in a lot of sellers. Okay, it brought in a lot of sellers. And then we basically shifted and pushed above this area. And now we're correcting. Price is correcting itself. As soon as this correction is over, then we'll have our continuation. Okay. That continuation will be marked by basically bullish market structure that is building above this line. So that was the line that I created or that I drew, just waiting for bullish market structure above this line. And then your stop loss should be where I put it, should be a good place around 18433. Can you show my TP? Yeah, so there's a few options. As of right now, it's the daily structure. Daily structure, obviously, if you want to be safe, just you're going to get a good risk to reward either way. There's a 1 to 3.5 right there. That should be like as simple as it gets. Now, the reason that I'm targeting a higher take profit is because once again, we're inside of this what do you want to call this? Trend, you can call it a channel, you can call it trend lines, whatever you want to call it. We're above this trend line right here and within this channel. That's what it is. When price reacts from the bottom of the channel from this trend line, it usually shoots up pretty nicely. Every single time it does that, it shoots up 423 pips, 26 pips. And then this one shot up 430 pips or 430 points. So if we're calling it an average of 400 starting from the bottom, 400 is right there. So it's above this daily structure point. And I was just taking it from all of the blue candles, right? I didn't count any of the pullbacks and stuff like that. That's all. It basically shifts above the daily EMA without any issues. Just shifts above and continues. Now, as soon as it shifts above, it does retest it. So I would be aware of that. But I'm just targeting this daily structure right here. Daily time frame is bullish, and we should create a higher high. Am I in already? Yeah, I am. Yeah, if you guys are willing to enter, I would wait for proper confirmation above this line, above this EMA. Just bullish market structure on the lower time frames, signifying that the sellers are completely out of the market and that the 4-hour time frame will successfully shift bullish, or not shift bullish, but shift back above this EMA. Even though we did shift above it to retest it, I do think that there's a chance that we could reject it to sell. I don't think that that chance is very high, but there is always a chance. So to eliminate any unnecessary drawdown or chances of drawdown, just wait for that to happen. And then once again, my target will be basically this daily structure. I think I was just targeting a 1 to 8, maybe a 1 to 7.9. But yeah, something like this. Full take profit is, we'll call it 165.80. So, or 1,186,580 for a 1 to 8. And if this wins, I'm done for the week. Like, I'm not even going to take another trade. It's just going to be one for me, and then that's it. I don't want to play with fire too much. Otherwise, you know what happens. 7 a.m. in New York. Yeah, tis a little early, huh? 15 minutes had a nice morning start, rejecting the EMA. Could see the pattern you need to get your push. Yeah. Yeah, so we're hoping for the best, but hope won't save us, you know? We kind of need a little bit more than just hope. That's why we have a strategy. All right. So moving on to the other pairs we're looking at. Somebody was asking about EuroCAD. Now, EuroCAD, I do like, um, but we didn't have our time frames in sync, right? Weekly time frame is bearish, but the daily time frame is bullish, and the 4 hour time frame is currently bullish as well. So we are bullish from here to here. We can get rid of this stuff. And basically, this is where I would have sent a signal. If I was going to take sells, it would have been, I mean, realistically, probably up here. And then we would have been taken out. I mean, either way, it wasn't fantastic. There's not much, there's not enough for us to take a trade like this. Like you said, you asked why I was looking for sells on this. It didn't make sense. You're right. It doesn't make sense yet. But if price did sell down to here and then pull back into the EMA, at that point, yes, we would be looking for sells. Something along those lines. We'd have two time frames in sync plus our other confluences. That's what we would be looking for. So as of right now, not interested in this. Like I said, weekly time frame is bearish, so we would be trading with the higher time frames. But as you can see, we kind of broke above, retested this daily EMA, and there's a chance that we're creating an inverted head and shoulders, right? So there's a shoulder, there's a head, there's another shoulder, and then we continue to buy. So that's a bit dangerous in our perspective here. So if we want to take a good trade, we have to wait for two time frames to be lined up, and we don't have that right now. So we'll keep an eye on it. But since I'm already in GBP CAD, these two pairs, like they move almost identically, very, very similar. Like if this one's gonna buy short term, then this one's gonna buy short term, you know. So that's why I was a little bit conservative between those two. Yeah. 4 hour looks like it's retesting inverted head and shoulders. It could be. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it literally is. So, and if it is, then you have, another good trade for buys. Inverted head and shoulders, retested the neckline, continuation. If you get all your proper confluences and stuff, all you wait for buys is a break and retest above to buy. That's what I'd look for there. But as of right now, I guess you're right. As of right now, I guess you're right in terms of it. We only have two time frames in sync that are bullish. Therefore, we should be looking for buys. Break, retest to buy. How did you stay in CAD CHF? I was taken out last week. This week it was so high. I removed my stop loss over the weekend. I don't know what you mean by that, but your CAD for buys. Yeah. No, I agree with you guys for that. Like I said, I just liked the higher time frame structure. One, I like to trade with the weekly time frame. So here the weekly time frame was bearish. I was expecting potential sells, and I also liked the way that we sold here on Friday. And I saw potential continuation to the downside throughout this week, but that didn't exactly happen. I was taken out last week. You mean like on Friday before market closed, or what do you mean? So whenever I hold trades over the weekend or overnight, like say between 5 and 6, or be 5 and 6 p.m. Eastern time, I always remove my stop loss because of spreads. Unless we're in profit, unless we're like a 1 to 2 in profit, at that point, I will hold my stop loss in place, or I'll move it to break even in case there's some kind of huge reversal or news or something along those lines. All right, let's try to hurry along. So yeah, EuroCAD would be looking for buys with the proper break and retest. Euro CHF. Stop loss was 20 pips. That's what mine was. Well, here's the thing. Okay, I understand on the signals, it says it shows you the risk that I take at 20 pips. But you also have to consider where you enter the trade. So if you entered a little bit lower, then your 20 pips would look, your 20 pips would be like this. Or if you entered a little bit higher, then your 20 pips would be higher. So my recommendation would be to always go with the number at which I set my stop loss. In this point, it was 0.57520. But yeah, there's also differences in brokerages, prop firms. Like if you choose, like if you're trading a live account, for example, and you choose tight spreads account or whatever it's called, or like a no commission account, those are going to have differences in how big your spreads are. Or was I think it's zero spread. I don't know what it's called. My mind went blank. But yeah, either way, it's a loss for me as well. I already closed the trade in the signal group. I can show you it on my broker. But yeah, that was unfortunate. Okay, so next is Euro CHF. So Euro CHF seems to be getting another rejection from this area of interest from the EMA. 4-hour time frame had shifted bearish from here down to here, pushed up, retested this area one more time, and now we have created a new lower low, I think. No, we haven't. So we haven't created a new lower low, but we are creating a head and shoulders right here. Head, shoulder, shoulder. And now we might get a break and retest underneath. Underneath all of this in order to take more sells. Unfortunately, this move up, right? This move right here is the same move that happened right here. That was that move to the upside. So that's why we got taken out of this trade. If all the CHF pairs start selling now, then that sucks because we will have taken that loss. But that also means that we could potentially re-enter. But yeah, Euro CHF right now, still a good trade in my opinion. Weekly time frame. Let's check our confluences. Refresh my page. Weekly time frame is currently bearish. Actually, I think I had notes on each of these trades that I was kind of expecting. Hopefully my Wi-Fi doesn't go out on me. Okay, so on CAD CHF, my notes were break and retest to sell, which is basically exactly what we got. We got a break, retest to sell. Next was GBP CAD. That 4-hour pullback to buy happened. That's exactly why we took the trade. Here we were waiting for a 1-hour pullback to sell. That 1-hour pullback was basically into the EMA to sell with the other time frame. Now it's basically a break and retest. Above lower time frame EMA to buy. Okay. And we have 2 time frames in sync to buy, which are the daily and the 4-hour. So that's what we have there for Euro CAD. Euro CHF. So we are waiting for the 4-hour lower low to enter on the way to what? Waiting for the 4-hour lower high to enter on the way to the 4-hour lower low. That's what we're waiting for. So realistically, we could have entered somewhere up here. Okay, and we've already shifted below the 1-hour EMA, the 30-minute EMA. This is nice. This is very, very nice. Yeah, at this point, price pushed, retested area of interest. This is one that I'm very interested in. At this point, we already are on our way to create the next lower low. And this next 4-hour candle might close on the lower low. So there's two options. Two options. Number one is to wait for well, technically 3 options. Okay, this is option number 2. Wait for a break and retest. Option number 1, you enter. Now this is the highest risk and potentially the biggest stop loss, because if you enter right now, say we were to enter right now, it's not even that bad realistically. You have 20 pip stop loss is pretty solid. If your take profit is daily structure, let's see what the weekly structure is. Yeah, so it'd be weekly structure would be our main target, I think. Still a 1 to 3.7. So if you just enter now, that's your highest risk opportunity. I would not do this one. Option number 2, you wait for a break and retest of the neckline for the head and shoulders, right? So you have your head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder. Your break and retest would basically look something like this. You sell into the EMA, react from the EMA, pull back to sell, okay? Now, the reason why this one is your next highest risk is because you could still react from this EMA and just continue to go higher, right? And then your lowest risk is number 3, where price actually breaks below the EMA, retest the EMA to sell. Now, obviously, your risk to reward then gets reduced maybe by 1%, but there's also a lower chance of the break and retest of 4-hour EMA. Okay, now this is simply the way that I view things. I try to do this for every single pair, understanding what my options are. And that is the options for Euro CHF. Not much more to be said on this one. Just waiting for any of those 3 things to happen, or just any of these 2 things to happen, because number 1 is not interesting for me. Plus, I'm already in a trade. So AUD CHF. AUD CHF, weekly time frame is bearish. Daily time frame, if it decides to load, is bearish. Now we're above the EMA. We broke, retested above the EMA. Not fantastic. Above the daily EMA, even more so. So it's not even the 4-hour EMA. Now, what happened here is we're above the EMA on the 4-hour, broke below, retested, sold. Now we're breaking above to potentially retest to buy. To potentially retest to buy. That isn't exactly ideal either. So we seem to be creating an inverted head and shoulders. Shoulder, head, shoulder right there. Yes, we're bearish on the weekly time frame. We're bearish on the daily time frame, but we are bullish on the 4-hour time frame. And I don't like how aggressive this pullback was on the daily time frame. We literally created the lower low, and since then have come back exactly all the way back to where break even would have been if we entered the top of this move. In my opinion, I would like to see price break underneath, retest to sell. If we're calling this a head and shoulders pattern, which it kind of is, we have your shoulder, head, shoulder. This whole area right here would be considered the neckline. So I would basically just wait for price to break underneath the neckline, retest to sell underneath the EMA. That would be the best option for this if you're going to be looking for sells. Now, if you're looking for buys, I would realistically wait for the daily time frame to shift bullish. That could take a day or 2 more. Retest of the inverted head and shoulders to potentially buy from there. Also a great option. So 2 options for sells, break and retest under 4-hour EMA, or for buys, break and retest above daily head and shoulders. Okay. And this is also a head and shoulders. Hopefully you guys are kind of understanding what I'm talking about. So yeah, then you would have 2 time frames in sync for buys, or you would have 3 time frames in sync for sells. Either option is good for me. But as of right now, still going to be looking for sells because that's what we have presented to us. JPY pairs. JPY pairs is bullish, or NZD JPY is bullish on the weekly time frame, daily time frame, same thing, currently bullish, retesting this daily EMA, retesting the 4-hour EMA as well. So chances of this selling short term are higher than not. Probably going to sell into this area of interest before buying back. As of right now, you could potentially wait for price to retest this, because here we kind of have, look at what we have. We have a double bottom. This is pull back, lower low, shift the structure, pull back into the double bottom, and then buy. That could be an option right there. For me, I would like to see price actually shift above. So waiting for price to shift above 4-hour EMA. That's what I'll be waiting for. Now, we did still have this marked up for waiting for a 4-hour pullback to buy. That would technically still be the situation we're in. So that's option number 1, 4-hour pullback to buy. Option number 2, break and retest above the 4-hour EMA to buy. Okay. Next is USD JPY. This one kind of did its thing already. I think we're done with this one. Don't really see any opportunities to be entering. Oh, well, actually, let's look at the lower time frames. Anyways, weekly time frame, currently bullish, I believe. Yeah, so weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame had a pullback into previous structure. So daily time frame is bullish. 4-hour time frame did what? It just shifted bullish. Okay, so we had a higher high, shift the structure, lower low, shift the structure bullish, higher high, shift the structure bearish, lower low, and now we've shifted structure bullish with the higher high. So your options are to stay away from the trade. That's option number 1. Or option number 2, you wait for a pullback into the double bottom, into the EMA, to then buy. So what is this? Break and retest above the 4-hour double bottom neckline. The double bottom neckline. I mean, that's exactly what we're still waiting for. At this point, it's just a 4-hour pullback into previous structure to buy. And your previous structure is that neckline of the double bottom. Okay. Next is, so we are still interested in that one, but next is Euro USD. That is one that we were also looking at for this week. Weekly time frame, bullish. Daily time frame, underneath the EMA, is having a nice pullback, but it is bearish. And 4-hour time frame has successfully shifted above the 4-hour EMA, but it is still underneath the area of interest. And another thing is it has done this before, where it's shifted above only to then shift below. So I'm not a huge fan of this. Yeah, I can see why you have it for sells. Although it is set up for buys currently, 2 bullish timeframes. The market structure on the daily does suggest sells, but the weekly and the monthly time frame are very, very bullish. Well, actually, that's a lie. Monthly time frame is bearish. Weekly time frame is bullish. A little confusing. I think that a little bit additional market structure would really open our eyes. And that's why I don't like doing things the way that Alex does it. He has like his view for the week. and that's it. Like it's Sunday or none day. He does his analysis one and done. With me, I can come back tomorrow, market structure is down here. All of a sudden, I'm looking for sells now. I'm looking for a pullback to sell. So as of right now, for today, I'm still looking for buys. Okay. However, if for some reason price does give us a bearish engulfing candlestick or a reaction, here, for example, right now, if price sells down to here and creates a lower low on the 4-hour time frame, I'm looking for a pullback to sell. Okay, that's all I'm waiting for is a break, retest, sell underneath this time frame. Okay. However, if price does break it above this area of interest and retest it, then I'm looking for buys. That's what I'm looking for here. So you guys have two options as of right now, two bullish time frames. So we're still looking for buys. However, as soon as this 4-hour time frame goes bearish and retests, and you get yourself a lower time frame engulfing candle, you're looking for sells all day long. Okay. So that's the way that I view things for this pair. Last but not least, for the pairs that we were looking at is USD CAD. USD CAD weekly time frame is bullish. We have this huge wick that needs to get filled on the weekly time frame. I think that what we just did is we just created the wick that was supposed to be created last week. You can see how not all of them, there are a few candles that don't have wicks. For example, this one right here. But last week we opened and we went directly upwards. There was a little bit of a gap that needed to get filled. Specifically this one right here. And I think that that's exactly what we just did. I think we just filled in this gap. So if you use fibs and you pull your fib across, you just retested your 61.8 level, this previous structure right here, all of that good stuff. I do believe that we could get a continuation to the upside. So we have two time frames that are bullish. Now here, what did I say I'm waiting for? A daily rejection candle. So that daily rejection candle could realistically come in tomorrow. In fact, if it does, I would be more than happy to take this trade tomorrow. And what a daily rejection candlestick would look like is a wick to the downside and then a bullish candle, even if it's just that big. If it's an engulfing candle, even better. Then the next day, all we're looking for, wick pullback, and then continuation to the upside. Okay. So we're still waiting for that daily rejection candle. 4-hour time frame by then should catch up to the EMA, or rather the EMA should catch up to the 4-hour time frame. Basically like this, break above, retest to buy. So I think that would take about another 2 days. So maybe early Wednesday, maybe London session, we could take this trade. But we'll see about that. We will see about that. On to the rest of these pairs here. So let's run through these really quickly, figure out if we're not interested in any of these. Still interested. I think most of these we still have opportunities. None of them have really ran away from us. Yeah, so none of them have gone. We're still interested in most of them. NZD, USD, I think that daily pullback is about to start. So we're still waiting on that daily pullback. AUD, USD, we have already pulled back. Wow. Pulled back very aggressively. But here's the thing. We've now successfully shifted above this 2-hour EMA. What do you think is going to happen? You think we're just going to shift back underneath? No, sir. We're going to retest, and then we're just going to continue to buy back. Just going to continue to go upwards. Now, the difference between AUD NZD and NZ, or AUD USD and NZD USD, is a big difference, even though they move similarly. Like I'll show you guys. So starting with this candle right here, I'll switch between pairs. That's the first big selling candle on both moves. Okay, now we go to this one. First selling candle, first big selling candle. But you notice the market structure between them is different. They're selling candle, selling candle, selling candle. All identical across both of them, okay? But you notice how clean NZD USD looks compared to AUD USD, right? So this right here could technically go all the way up to here and still give us a sell to the downside. when this one will only be at the previous structure. You see? So this one could go bullish when this one stays bearish, and they're going to give us sells. Both of them will give us sells again until NZD USD shifts bullish. At that point, we'll look for a pullback to buy, but we're still far from that. So here, just going to continue to wait. I mean, we're not trading this until both of these line up together. If this one continues to sell immediately from where we are, there's no trade there for us. So there's no trade here for us either. NZD CHF, I think we're in a similar situation there. Okay, this is different. So NZD CHF, we're at a lower low. There's no trade for me here. But GBP CHF does look like it has a trade for us. Weekly time frame, bearish. Daily time frame is also bearish. No, daily time frame is bullish. Excuse me. Daily time frame is bullish right here. 4-hour time frame is currently bearish. So we're reacting from this EMA. Ideally, we would break and retest underneath this area to sell. That would give us a head and shoulders, and then we would be able to sell pretty safely. So what I'm going to be waiting for is a break and retest of 4-hour EMA. That's what I'll be waiting for GBP CHF. NZD CHF, not interested right now. We're kind of at a lower low. USD CHF, I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? As of right now, we only have one time frame in sync to sell, or yeah, to sell. But we have two time frames in sync to buy. Okay. I would love to buy this. I would. I think it looks fantastic. The market structure is nice. We shifted above the EMA, retested previous structure, all that good stuff. However, with all of these other CHF pairs selling, I think that it's going to follow. I think it's just going to continue to sell. And that's why you guys see me trying to buy Euro USD, because I think that they're in the similar situation. They look identical. We can set them side by side. We can just put them like this. They're the same exact trade, but they're inverted. Okay. Same exact market structure. And then if we go a step further, put DXY right there, these are all the same exact move. Okay. So you can kind of see where my mind is at when trading this. I'm expecting the same thing from all of them. In terms of here, actually, that's a lie. That is a lie. Wait a minute. No, it's not. No, it's not. I am looking for buys here just as well as I am looking for buys here. And here, wait a minute, Euro USD. This one should be selling if I'm trying to be, consistent across the three, because this one is the inverted version of the other two. So yeah, this one would have the higher probability of selling because the other two have a higher probability of buying. But I guess the options remain the same. Just like for the dollar index, we're either going to break and retest to sell, or we're going to retest to buy. Same thing with this one, break and retest to sell, or break above to buy. Same thing with this one, break and retest to sell, or we break above to buy. I mean, exactly the same thing across all four of them, or all three of them, excuse me. So yeah. Break and retest to sell under for our EMA, or shift the structure on 4-hour time frame to buy. Okay, so these are our two options right now. Yeah, so these are our two options as of right now. Not interested just yet. GBP CAD. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Unfortunate, but that is part of the industry we're in. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm still in the trade. Gold for short-term sells. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it selling into that little area of interest on previous structure. That could be a good idea right there. You've come back. Welcome back, man. I've been doing all right. You've been missed. All right. So weekly time frame bullish, daily time frame is bearish, 4-hour time frame is currently bear. Yeah, it's bearish. Okay, so 4-hour time frame is currently bearish. We have two time frames in sync that are bearish, creating a potential head and shoulders pattern here. So if you want to take short-term sells, you can potentially into the previous structure on this time frame. I wouldn't really do that. I would prefer to buy. Above the 4-hour EMA. Yeah, I'm just not interested in this one. It's too indecisive. Here, our weekly time frame is bullish, daily time frame is bullish, 4-hour time frame is bullish. So now we have three time frames in sync to buy. Now we're just waiting for a pullback into EMA to buy. Pull back into the 4-hour EMA to buy. It's doing exactly what I broke down for you guys. We shifted below the EMA shortly, only to continue to push up, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Now we're kind of on our way to the next higher high. Not interested. Same thing here. Price is basically already gone, unless you wait for a pullback. Pull back into the EMA, you could potentially take buys. Pull back into the EMA, you can potentially take buys. Same thing here. Pull back to potentially take buys. Now, the reason that these pullbacks are nice, they're retesting this previous structure and the double bottom. So I could see that happening 100%. If we come back tomorrow and price is down here, I'm going to be looking to take a continuation to the upside. Now, the reason that I don't think that that'll happen in one day, or I don't think it's going to happen before our next call, is because if it does happen so aggressively, wouldn't really love to see that. 1, 2, 3. I guess maybe in the next 12 hours it could. It doesn't really happen that quickly though. We'll see. We'll see. As of right now, not interested in that. GBP NZD. GBP NZD. Waiting for that daily pullback. Once again, not interested. No sells. We're waiting for daily pullback to buy. Still waiting on that daily pullback. AUD CAD. AUD CAD weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is bearish, and 4-hour time frame is bullish. So now we have two time frames in sync to buy. At this point, I would wait for a pullback or a shift of structure. We're kind of creating a head and shoulders pattern here. Shoulder, head, potential shoulder. If this does happen, then all we have to wait for is a break above, price to push up, pull back into the EMA to buy. So break and retest of 4-hour EMA to buy. But I'm not interested in this one at the moment. Weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is still pulling back. Like I said, we're not interested in buys until price reaches the daily area of interest, which is down here. Currently not interested still. GBP USD weekly time frame is bearish. We had a rejection candlestick last week. Daily time frame is currently bearish, so we have two time frames that are bearish, and this time frame here is bullish. We're shifting above the EMA. I would like to take sells, but I would like to take sells, first of all, at this area of interest, and second of all, once the 4-hour time frame actually shifts back below the EMA. So a break retest to sell like that would be nice to see. Waiting for 4-hour break and retest of EMA. Next is NZD CAD. How many more do we have here? 5 more. So NZD CAD weekly time frame has created a lower low. Daily time frame, waiting for a daily pullback to sell. Daily pullback to sell. Similar to the way we did here, pullback, sold, pullback, sell. Very nice, very clean, very simple, okay? On to the next, Euro NZD, waiting for a daily pullback to buy. This isn't much of an area of interest. It's more so just previous structures. Just waiting for the higher low for the next higher high. Okay. Euro NZD still waiting for this daily pullback as well. Daily pullback to buy. Okay. And then what do we have here? GBP AUD and Euro AUD. I have conflicting thoughts on these ones. Area of interest. I guess price did tap into this area of interest just perfectly. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically 6, 7 areas. Now, the thing is, you just saw me move my area of interest. So like your areas of interest can differ. Like mine was right here before, then I moved it down a little bit. Areas of interest are very, is it subjective? Like they can be whatever you want them to be. There's no right or wrong area of interest. For me, the rule is as long as I have a structure above and below my area of interest, like it frames it, right? There's one on top, one on the bottom. That's how I use my, and then the one in the middle, preferably, because then you have 3, right? One on top, one on the bottom, one in the middle. That right there kind of creates my area of interest. So realistically, we could do one right here. That right there would count as an area of interest. You have one on the bottom, one in the middle, one on the top, or other way around. But you guys get the general idea there. Now, price did retest this previous structure. That is a key thing for price to do. Now, we are trying to shift below this EMA. This isn't a trade that I'm particularly interested in taking. Seems like price opened and pushed directly downwards this week. So there's a good chance that this wick actually gets created. And if it does get created, that means we could get a complete turnaround here price might have broken above the EMA only to retest it to continue to buy. There's a good chance of that happening. Same story here. Euro AUD broke above the EMA, retested to buy. But we also came back to retest the daily EMA. A lot of conflicting thoughts, feelings, and opinions on this one. So I'm just going to stay away from both of them until we get proper market structure. Right now, we're kind of just moving sideways. Here, same thing. We're like moving sideways, but downwards against major time frame, which is bullish. Therefore, I am currently not interested in this. Okay. Just waiting. Still in GB. Wait. Just still in CAD CHF, not for anything else at the moment. You don't mind showing me GBP CAD again? I'm trying to explain this in school today, so I'm going to be wanting to sell this. No daily upper week of yeah. So not always. There's not always that like that. Also, by the way, just if you haven't really realized it yet, if you try to explain something in school, it's like talking to a bunch of brick walls. Like they'll ask the same question 30 times. They'll all make their own post about it. It's ridiculous. Like my blood pressure goes up every time I open that app. All right, so these two not interested. GBP CAD, that's the one you guys wanted me to go over. Weekly time frame on GBP CAD is bearish, but we're trading within the confines of this trend line, or this, I keep forgetting the word, the channel, right? So I don't really trade channels and trend lines. I just wanted to visualize what's going on. We're at the bottom half of this area. We basically had a shift of structure on the daily time frame. We created lower low, higher high. 4-hour time frame had a bullish market structure above the EMA. Wow, my voice keeps changing. It's like every time I hop on these calls, I go through puberty again. I gotta figure that out. At least there's only like 10 people in here, not even. It'd be embarrassing if there's like 200 of you guys. I get roasted, you know. Everyone roasts Alex. You guys just don't see it. I bet you he's reading his chat and cracking up. That's why he has his chat turned off too. You guys are ruthless. All right. Basically 4-hour time frame shifted bullish, had a pullback. 30-minute time frame. I mean, I entered off of, it's not too noticeable. It's noticeable for me because I always have to clear my voice, and I don't smoke or anything. So in Turkey here, everyone smokes, though. It's kind of annoying. Like that might be what it is. It might be the secondhand smoke. But yeah, basically had this huge engulfing candle, after which I entered. That for me was enough to say, I think that this 4-hour time frame or 4-hour pullback is ended. It retested this previous structure, retested this previous structure, retested the EMA, and now it seems like we're kind of stuck between breaking above this EMA and trying to break above some of these lower time frame EMAs. As soon as this happens right here, price is gone. Like it is not coming back. As soon as we successfully shift above this lower time frame 30-minute, 15-minute EMA, it is over. Okay. But yeah, we have, actually, let's go over the confluences together because we might as well, right? Since we already entered this trade. Weekly time frame is bearish, daily time frame is bullish, 4-hour time frame is bullish. So we have 20% from these two time frames. We have around psychological level. We have an area of interest. There's your daily area of interest right here. Guess we could mark it down like this. Maybe even a little bit bigger. So here's your daily area of interest. Weekly time frame. Do we have a pattern? I wouldn't say so. We don't have a pattern. We're not retesting previous structure. We're retesting the EMA, and we have a candlestick rejection. We have those two things. Daily time frame. We have a shift of structure. We created a double bottom. There's your pattern. We're retesting the previous structure. We're not retesting the EMA, and we don't have a candlestick rejection. 4-hour time frame. Do we have a pattern? I wouldn't say so. I don't think that I would count this as a pattern unless you counted this as a double bottom or a triple bottom or whatever. I guess maybe 1, 2, 3 structure points that could count as your triple bottom right here. But I'm not going to count it. Retesting previous structure. Yeah, there's your previous structures. You have your 50 EMA. We broke above. We're retesting 50 EMA. And we have our candlestick projections right there. Your doji, another doji. Entry confluences. I basically entered after 15-minute shift of structure. Did we shift above the 15-minute EMA? No. Do we have an engulfing candlestick? Yes. So I took this as a 80% trade. If you want to count this engulfing right here, 85% trade. 1 hour time frame. Do you want to count this 1 hour engulfing? 90% trade. You see, for me, it was only 80% when I took it. But yeah, if we shift above the 30-minute EMA, becomes a 90% trade. You count a 1 hour engulfing, bam, 100% trade. So just wait for price to shift above the 30-minute EMA and give you an engulfing, and that's basically your 100% trade right there. But for me, it was this right here. In fact, let me go ahead and journal this one properly because I didn't journal it with any confluences. So my entry signal was sent at 580, copy price. Go ahead and hit journal. Entry price, stop loss was 18433, 18433. Target price realistically probably won't be up here. So let's just call it 4-hour structure right there, which is 18547, 8547. And we'll say that's that. 80% trade. Now we go to here. And I'm going to delete the previous. I'm going to delete this previous trade here. Okay. So this is the trade that we're currently in. It's stop loss, I lose 1,000. If it's take profit, we'll make 3.5. So we shall see what happens with that one. Any other questions? They smoke camels in Turkey. They smoke everything here, man. They smoke everything here. Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of it. All right, let's go ahead and sort through these, see what we got going. For buys, we need a break and retest. For sells, basically a break and retest, but this one is like on the edge, you know. GBP CHF, break and retest, AUD CHF, break and retest. Yeah, these are all the same. Pull back to buy, technically pull back to buy, pull back to buy. So these ones go above. Break and retest, and break and retest. So, I mean, for this one, USD CAD could technically daily rejection candle. Okay. Yeah, this is basically the list right here. Okay. So quick recap. NZD JPY, we're waiting for a 4-hour pullback to buy, or you could wait for the break and retest. USD JPY, same thing. 4-hour pullback to buy, retest, double bottom to buy. Euro US or Euro CAD, break above, retest to buy above the EMA, or you wait for the shift of structure, retest to sell. Break and retest underneath the EMA to sell Euro CHF. Same thing with GBP CHF and AUD CHF, just waiting for price to shift underneath those 4-hour EMAs. Euro USD, two options. You wait for a break above to buy or a shift of structure, retest to sell underneath the 4-hour EMA. And USD CAD, basically waiting for a daily rejection candle. And on the lower time frames, that would probably look like maybe creating a double bottom, retest to buy. So there's a little bit more that needs to happen here. So this one will probably be ready either tomorrow or the day after that. Okay. That basically wraps things up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.